Aren't we kind of overdue for a change?
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
That was kind of an open-ended question, right? I don't prep those, I just blurt them out. There's a lot of change we allegedly always want. But there are some things that I think most of us, I can't speak for everybody, never do, but I think there are things we kind of look forward to. And one of the little things in life that's kind of cool is a license plate change. You know, when the color changes and there's a fresh new feel on the roads. I think it has a dynamic impact on the psychology of a community or a state in this particular case, because that's how we issue license plates. And Senator DiPalma has been kind of like the lone warrior on a concept to change the plate. And he's here tonight to talk about it. I find it just perplexing, to be honest with you, that this actually requires like an uphill climb. I'm confused by it. I wonder if the senator is. So great to have you in. Thanks for joining my State of Mind. In the meantime, it's a pardon commutation fest, I guess, for the President of the United States. And leading the charge is that clown who sold his Senate seat, the one left by Barack Obama to become president, for his own personal wealth, favors, status. It was grotesque. And he's 8 years into a 14-year sentence, and he's out. The network covered it this way.
Fantastic.
Former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich is back home in Chicago after President Trump commuted his prison sentence on Tuesday.
Anything you want to say to your supporters? I say, I appreciate them, I love them, I'm grateful to them, and I didn't let them down.
The Democrat, who was once a contestant on Mr. Trump's Celebrity Apprentice, was convicted in 2011 of trying to sell then-President Barack Obama's vacated Senate seat. Blagojevich was sentenced to 14 years in prison.
He served 8 years in jail. There's a long time to go. Many people disagree with the sentence.
President Trump granted commutations and pardons to 11 people Tuesday, including former junk bond king Michael Milken, former NFL owner Eddie DiPartolo Jr., and former New York City Police Commissioner Bernard Kerik. They were convicted on charges that included fraud, corruption, and lying.
President Trump says he relied on personal recommendations when making his decisions, but his critics are questioning whether clemency is being granted to those with connections.
There is also pushback from prosecutors on Blagojevich's case, who said a justice system must hold public officials accountable for corruption. President Trump would not say Tuesday if he would pardon his longtime friend Roger Stone, who is scheduled to be sentenced tomorrow after he was convicted on 7 felony counts.
Listen, there have been thousands of people who have been relieved of their prison status by presidents over time. And if we nitpicked every single one of them and retried the cases, we would be wringing our hands perpetually over this. So let's keep this in context. At the same time, what the network didn't show you there was the president's comments that Comey and Fitzpatrick, as he called him, Pat Fitzgerald, put this guy away. Yeah, Comey. The guy can't stop thinking about Comey. Comey is the thread. Comey is the reason why Blagojevich is out. And, you know, there's been some cliche discussion about draining the swamp. In this particular case, we have, this is just aiding and abetting the swamp. This is, I don't know how any reasonable person in this country, let alone even Trump supporters, can articulate a rationale for this particular move, other than to see it for what it is, and that is a lash out against James Comey, who I'm sure isn't losing any sleep over the situation. It is as dysfunctional as it comes. In the meantime, speaking of dysfunction, our United States Attorney General, who has long been arguing the Trump position on things and who really short-circuited that Mueller report at all, now says, according to the Washington Post, that he is ready to kind of exit stage left if the Trump administration doesn't get through to the president that he's got to stop tweeting. We saw that audio last week where he feigned the idea that the tweets were getting in the way of his doing his job. I thought that was just a message to the president. Hey, listen, I'm doing your bidding. Just don't get in my way. And kind of a wink and a nod type of situation. But the president, all you have to do is tell the president he can't do something. He just keeps doing it. And so he continues to tweet wildly over this Roger Stone case, as was referred to by the network. And the pressure of the couple of thousand DOJ former employees looking for Barr to resign for reasons of subverting or getting in the way of his own Justice Department request for a sentence for Stone. And on the other side, the president just putting so much pressure on him that he looks like he's boxed in or doing his bidding anyway. It might very well be getting to Bill Barr. It's going to be interesting because the president just likes to live on that high wire, and he may just drive Bill Barr out. That phrase, the devil you know versus the devil you don't, who knows who the next devil could be? Let's not get ahead of ourselves, but it's getting tenuous. Big debate tonight. If you're watching at 7:30, 9 o'clock, big stuff. If you're checking in at midnight, you already know. We'll sure talk about it tomorrow. In the meantime, let's get to our conversation on the license plates. Here's a headline that reflects on some of what's going on. WPRI.com. The state senator who pushes for the license plate. You know, sometimes when you win a legislative battle or just a key concept that affects the quality of life in the state, you get known for it, Lou. I think this is, you know, it's not quirky enough to be weird. It's important enough, and you keep trying to explain to everybody that this is in large part a public safety issue. So, correct. Senator, thank you for coming in. I appreciate you coming. And give me the Cliff's Notes on this, then we'll dig in some further. Tell me why specifically you think this is a safety issue.
So Dan, thank you very much, and thank you for having me here. We have about, I'll say, 3% of the vehicles on the road today with wave plates on them are unregistered, uninspected, uninsured. And we know that from national numbers, we know that from...
The wave plate is the current mainstream plate.
Correct.
Right.
So all we're talking about here is the wave plate. We're not talking about any of the specialty plates, the plum bleach, lighthouse, breast cancer, Red Sox plate, just the wave plate. We have over 800,000 vehicles with the wave plate. About 3% roughly, about 25,000 of those vehicles are on the road, unregistered, uninspected, uninsured.
How do we know that?
When the last time we did this, and from national, I chaired a commission, and I've been working this for 7 years, almost 10 years, a little more before that. And from looking at some numbers, from talking with folks about this nationally, when you do plate reissuance, it's almost like the raid commercial. Raids coming in, the bugs start to scatter. One of two things will occur. Those plates will cease to exist, those cars will, or those vehicles, or we'll see an uptick in the number of vehicles being registered because you won't be able to drive that vehicle on the road because public safety will know that car's registered, that car's not.
So we should refresh. Every 10 years, we're required to update the plates.
Correct. That's in Rhode Island general law.
It feels like assumptive, almost like the old English sentence that you would diagram. You understood that an update would mean a dynamic change to the plates.
Correct.
But because that is not specified in the law,
right,
we have a little bit of a jam here with the governor.
Correct. And it's always been the case before when plates were changed. You reflect back to the plate that we had prior to the current reissuance, was 23 years ago. So 3 governors have kicked this can down the road. And finally, the General Assembly last year, and I give credit to the Senate President and the Speaker for incorporating into the budget, said no, we're not doing that anymore. So June 1st of this year, a new plate, and I think that's in jeopardy. We can get back to that after. But the intent is that you have a new plate. So the governor's, I think, addressing the spirit of it, but really not the intent. You need to have something dramatically different enough to ensure that we address that issue of safety and security.
When we come back, we'll dig in as to why. Lou is a little puzzled, to be honest with you. I've got my own theories on this. We'll give you some background on the story, too. Stay with us. So here's a little background for you.
Whether you like it or hate it,
about the plates, I think they should leave them alone.
Rhode Island could have a newly designed license plate by June. Senator Lou DiPalma has been trying to get the new plate for the last 6 years to make it harder for drivers to break the law.
There's plates on cars that don't belong on those cars. So that car is not inspected, not insured, not registered. That affects all of us, and it's not right for Rhode Island.
Senator DiPalma dropped off new design options to Governor Raimondo personally. Her press secretary sent a statement saying that reissuing license plates is not a top priority for the governor and that it will cost state taxpayers millions of dollars.
Spending money rather than already paying for what needs to be done is totally ridiculous.
Senator DiPalma says that a new set of plates would cost $8 and would be required after June 1st at the time a car's registration is renewed. Would $8 bother you to have to get a new license plate?
$8, no.
Rhode Island was supposed to replace the wave design back in 2006, but so far, 3 governors have pushed back the deadline. According to Senator DiPalma, about 3% of drivers are on the road illegally, either without an inspection, insurance, or registration.
I love the person on the street interviews that we do where you can find, you know, there's this propensity we have in the news world is to find people who are on either side of an issue, no matter what the real data is in terms of how people respond to this. Right. Meaning it could be 80% of the people say, yeah, sure, it's 10 years, let's get a new plate. And $8, yeah, I get whatever. But you can always find that other point of view. It doesn't mean it's a 50-50 feel out there. However, do you know? Have you polled this? Not that you need to poll this for common sense leadership, because leadership by polling is not necessarily the best way to lead. Right. What's your gut say about how people think about this?
I really don't know. I think when you have the ability to articulate the rationale why, the safety and security, people say, absolutely we should be doing it. It's been done before. They know it's overdue.
I think distinguishing between the former and new plate on the rotation over a 2-year period of time is, I get your safety argument. I think it's, and listen, you know me, I'm not here to just roll over for people on this show or anywhere. I think it's inarguable. It is, if you're a trooper or a local police officer and you're driving down the street and you see what could be either an outdated or beat up plate, you're more likely to take a look, run that plate, and see whether or not it's legit or not. Whatever. And by the way, people don't have to rush in and load the DMV down. This is on a 2-year rotation.
And it's going to come to you in the mail. You do not go to the DMV. So when your car comes up for renewal,
that's another misunderstanding that people have, even me.
I can talk about this for hours.
I know you can.
I love the topic. It's important. It's an important thing to do from a security and safety perspective. But when you renew your car, or trucks, which are on an every year basis, but when you renew your car, you're going to get the registration, renewal registration like you do in the mail today. You'll fill it out. Information with regards to the new plate will be in there as well. You'll send back your renewal costs, the additional $8 for the plate. It'll show up in the mail. What you'll need to do is unscrew the plates from the car, put the new ones on with the stickers, and you're all done.
AAA?
Well, this will all be in the mail.
Oh, it'll all be in the mail.
Correct.
Because I re-registered my car at AAA too, don't I?
You could. Yes, you could.
I think I do.
Well,
I think I have.
You will. You will submit it there, but the plates will still come in the mail.
Gotcha.
Right. They won't have the plates sitting there for you. The last time we did this, it was done all at once. I still remember my wife and I going the last day to do this because of originally from Connecticut. So I've been in Rhode Island now 36 and a half years.
Carpetbagger.
I am. But my grandchildren are not. They were born in Newport and they're from Newport. Okay. But they will come in the mail. So over the 2-year period, they'll come in the mail, and the cost of $8 covers the cost. There's not a penny that's going to the general fund.
Both the design change and the mail.
Mail.
That's the budget. Now look, we feel as Rhode Islanders that even when we are in a new increased tax year, that we get peppered with fees and fines, and it's true. I mean, I lost my cookies the other day when I got in the mail a $50 speeding ticket for 37 miles an hour on Olney Street.
I heard.
And I think, I'd like to, figuratively like to choke any legislator or counselor or mayor that advocated for that thing. Oh yeah, I know safety around the schools, 9:30 in the morning, the kids are already in school. I mean, that mentality feeds that gentleman that was on that package. Who's like, oh, we don't need fees, keep it the way it is, type of thing. And your response to that is, other than it's $8, get over it?
The cost is covered, the $8 is covering the cost for the plates, for the production of the plates, the mailing of the plates, the processing of the plates. Had this been, I've been in the General Assembly now, this is my 12th year. Prior to that, the gas tax, that was collected somewhat to the general fund. I can categorically say all the gas tax today goes towards transportation-related projects. Either the DOT, the buses, Rhode Island Public Transportation Authority, the Turnpike and Bridge Authority, underground storage tanks, senior fare discount. The other money that is in the general fund that came from the DMV that went to the general fund to pay for whatever, now goes to roads and bridges. We've made a conscious effort. This initial part was when we took the toll off the Secana Bridge, 10-cent toll was phase 1. Phase 2 was roadworks. So I say to folks, we can look at the investments that are being made in infrastructure. And oh, by the way, that registration money, that inspection money, also goes towards roads and bridges. So 97% of us are funding
By
it.
the way, don't get me started on roadworks. You know, at max a goal of 10% of the entire roadworks projects to put those tolls up. And don't tell me that before you're done in your tenure, because you're likely to get elected over and over again, that you're not going to be having to vote on making that a passenger vehicle toll. I mean, you know, I'll bet you a beer right now that is something that is going to happen. And it's the biggest non-starter. There's no reason that we need to have that. Find the 10% in the budget. I love the DOT's execution of the restructure and infrastructure work. You voted for that, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
In fact, I spoke with, I mean, yeah, it was one of the sponsors on the floor. I think I'm not sure if I have it in this car.
Do you dispute with me that in the future we'll be facing that challenge? Once that $40 million worth of infrastructure is up, you guys are never going to take it down. God forbid you lose the court case.
Right,
If you lose the court case on discrimination against the trucks, what are you going to do? Take them down? Not a shot.
that's a discussion for another day with regards to
I know, but you
taxing cars.
mentioned it, and it's my thing.
with
You're
regards
like,
to-
you know how the plates are your thing?
Absolutely.
This is my thing.
With regards to taxing cars, I don't see that happening. In fact, if you look at Connecticut, I'm originally from Connecticut. I think I was in Connecticut when they took the tolls down there because of a
Yeah, this
tractor.
governor's trying to put them back up and tax cars and toll cars.
Potentially, I think they're looking back and forth. I think they're now focusing on trucks only.
They're only waiting for the court case to be adjudicated.
Right.
Anyway, we come back to the license plates. Why is the governor choking on this thing? Lou's theory and mine next. All right, so you're on camera doing that. Let's play around with some of this stuff. Actually, I think if you were to, that's not bad. That one, did that? Can you hit that? That's not bad. But you know, if we're going to make a change, I think a darker. Don't you think? Wouldn't it? You know, Delaware's got kind of a dark plate like this, right? Now you've got. I don't know if anybody can see that, but yeah, if you. Yeah, they got a darker plate.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't like the black and gold
No.
that they have there. I mean, we're blue, we're rhodey.
Correct.
You're
Yep.
right. I think there's a psychological little skip in the step that happens when license plates are dramatically changed.
I think the other thing you can look at the Patriots when they changed their logo. They went from the kneeling down Patriot hiking the football to the modern design that they have today.
Yeah.
It gave a new lease on
Sometimes
life.
it goes the wrong way. When the Giants went from the NY
Yep.
and they put the Giants across the game, we were all like, what is that? Then they went back.
Correct.
But the governor is containing this decision in her office. She didn't even delegate it to the DMV or the DOT. She's just holding it back. And we saw that comment by her spokesman, Josh Block, expressing her aggressive indifference to this. Any theory as to why?
No, I don't.
And you met with her.
Her
or
staff, yes. And I made, like I said, I even had plates made up of my own money to show very poor quality, to say this is
Yeah,
what it
just
looks
as
like.
specs, I get it.
And these all came unsolicited on my part. This came from a company in Providence.
Did they yes you to death, or what did they do?
We'll look at it. We'll consider this. This came from the person who designed the original DEM logo. All unsolicited.
All right, well, it seems you
I'm
got.
frustrated at that.
I'm guessing. My theory on this is that the governor is looking to just mitigate her losses and ad hominem critics from jumping up on her. The Cooler and Warmer campaign was a debacle. That was artistic in nature. This is artistic in nature. And she probably is looking at it saying, you know, I need this like a hole in the head. Just go ahead and replace the plates. Because the law doesn't call for a creative design.
Correct.
If you can't convince her to go the creative design route, it seems to me you're going to have to specify legislation that demands a creative design.
Potentially. And I'll be thinking about that.
Do you have
This week?
do you have support in the Senate for that?
Well, I never want to speak. I will never speak for another colleague in the Senate, leadership, or the House.
We have to have a feeling.
I'd like to think so.
Most people don't put forward aggressive campaigns unless they've got a feel for how it's going to fly.
I think so. I hope I wouldn't have to do that. It'd be like, so I have 2 older daughters. I now have 3 grandsons. We'll soon have a granddaughter in a couple months. It's almost about, people shouldn't have to be treated that way.
Meaning?
We're adults. Let's figure this out with adults as opposed to saying, put it in writing. These are your chores for today. I'm going to tell you, you need to clean your room. You want me to write that down for you? No, I got it. Clean your room. I don't think we need to put that in the law. If it needs to be, I'm thinking about it this week. We're off this week. When we get back next week in session, I'll be meeting with the leadership to say, here's some suggestions. What do you think?
You know what's funny? It's one of these things where it makes, to me, it makes perfect sense. But people aren't rolling out of their beds in the morning saying, we have to have this. So the political pressure, it's not like the Providence schools are upside down. Oh my gosh, emergency, let's hire a commissioner, let's hire, it's just something that people, yeah, we should do that. Yeah, makes sense, but they're not gonna drown the governor's office with phone calls demanding it.
The issue, I think,
so that's where you're in a rock and a hard place.
That comes to mind. We may not know somebody, you and I, but if we get into a conversation with somebody say, I know somebody, in fact, who was in an accident with a car that wasn't registered. In fact, I think there was a drug bust probably a month and a half ago. They saw the plates on the car were expired or not readable. They stopped the car. Big drug bust and it only had 1 plate. I think that was the other issue. It only had 1 plate on it. And that's what they do. They take 1 plate off the car, stick it on the back. Police come up behind you. They're really not looking at the front of the car, and they stopped that car because I think it had the 1 plate, and it was uninsured, probably uninspected, unregistered, big drug bust.
Well, do you have law enforcement support? There's your angle. The state police and the Police Chiefs Association, what do they think about this?
So in fact, I did. When we had there was a state police support of the commission I had back in 3 or 4 years ago now. It was about studying the DMV, and part of it was about going, because these plates now will be digital. Instead of being embossed, they'll all be digital, digitally printed. At the end of the day, the state police are the ones that determine the readability, visibility, rain, night, different kind of weather, fog, what it looks like at whatever distance. So they'll need to ensure that.
But do they support a creative change, or just for that safety purpose?
I can't speak for them.
But that's your angle.
Yes, correct. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get the colonel to step up and the Police Chiefs Association to step up. She'll start to pay attention to this whole thing and think it's more than something she gets just handle by delegating it to some staffer. Well, look, I think it makes perfect sense. Keep the fight up. Do you have a deadline for her complying with this before you put the legislation in?
Well, I think it needs to happen sooner than later. I think we're at jeopardy right today.
Because right now, in June, we're already in a position where we're changing plates. We're issuing new plates.
Right. So if you back that up,
same as the old plates. If nothing happens.
Well, we can't. If you back that up, we don't hit the deadline. I think while it's possible, from a probability perspective, it's a very low probability the company that has the contract will be able to produce plates for that first month.
Yeah. It's a no-brainer. Thanks. Final word when we come back. Safety and aesthetic purposes, I think you ought to ring the governor's office and say, come on, Gov. You know, we won't blame you. She can just say, you know what? Give it to DiPalma. Blame it on him. He's the guy. You know, you don't like the design, call him. And the whole thing's over. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.